Hello, my name is Samar. I also go by Sam, our first time panner, and I just dropped my Norvina palette on the floor, but nothing broke, so I'm very happy about that. But this is my second time trying to film this intro. I'm a little bit flustered, and my cats keep jumping around because I just gave them treats. So I'm going to try to get this done as normally as possible, but this will kind of be a follow-up to a video. I don't know when it's going up, but I filmed it like 2 or 3 weeks ago at this point. I just haven't edited it yet because I've been so busy, but that was if I could only keep 10 eyeshadow palettes, and I realized that there were a few of like my most absolute favorite palettes or palettes that I just like am in love with that were not on that list, because of course if I could only, in this theoretical situation, if I could only keep 10 eyeshadow palettes, then I would want to keep not only like the best formulas in my collection, but also the most diverse range of shades and like finishes in my collection. So some of the palettes that I really love didn't make the cut, but I wanted to kind of give a shout out to all of those palettes that I really love, that whether or not they're like the #1 palette in my collection, they just make me really happy. Some of these palettes I did mention in my if I could only keep 10 video, but I think most of these were not included, which just goes to show that it's not always what you keep that is like your favorite and like sparks joy, like Marie Kondo. But this will be the top 10 palettes in my collection that spark joy, and I'm just gonna do these in the order that I wrote them down in my notes app. They may not necessarily be like in order of the amount of joy they bring me, but this is the order that I thought of them in, and the first one had to be my Sephora Dahlia palette. This is just, first of all, this is the oldest eyeshadow palette in my collection. I bought this in the spring 2021 VIB sale, not my account. I was not like a Sephora member back then, but
yeah, I was like accompanying my mother, and I saw this in the store, and this was before I was into eyeshadows, and I think I mentioned this in like a recent video as well, this entire story, but I like passed this. We were on our way out of the store, and on the way out, like right next to the entrance, like this is the store that I was in at the time, like on the right, through like the little walkway in Sephora is the Sephora collection like stand, and like my gaze just like caught this eyeshadow palette, and there was something about it. I mean, it's like, it's lovely and it's beautiful. There was something about it that just like made me stop and like immediately go and swatch everything. And again, I was not into eyeshadows at this time. I think like the only eyeshadows I owned were eyeshadows that were not only very old, but that had been purchased for me by other people, and I never wore them. So this was like a very special thing that I was even interested in looking at this, and I wasn't going to buy it for myself because I was like thinking, oh, I'm not even into eyeshadows like that. I was trying to like, I'm a very stubborn person, so I was like, well, I'm not even into eyeshadow, so I'm just not gonna get it. But my mom was like, no, I'll get that for you. She was a rouge, so she was getting 30% off, and I think this was like maybe $14 at the time. So she bought this for me, and I was just immediately obsessed, and I loved everything about this.
the color story is so pretty, but also the formula. Now, this always saddens me as like bittersweet, because I'm talking so much about this palette, but that's because this is probably like everything else I would say is not in a specific order except for this one. This is like my #1 for this video. But back to the formula, it makes me so sad because Sephora does not make this formula anymore. This is their old original cream to powder formula, and it was so good. Every single shade in this palette is cream to powder, and every palette that came in this entire line was the exact same as well. They were all cream to powder. If I had known what I know now, I would have just bought all of the eyeshadow palettes in that line, because this is probably like the best eyeshadow formula I've ever used, and it's the best cream to powder formula I've ever used as well. It is just so good. The cream to powder formula that Sephora has now, it's fine, but it is not this one at all. I just love the formula so much. It is so easy to use, and it's just such a beautiful palette, and it's super compact, and it has the cardboard packaging too, so this will like never break in any of my luggage. I take it with me traveling all the time. Like I would say like at least twice a year I take this with me on an out-of-town trip. I love it so much, and it's so beautiful. And this palette, just every time I even open it and look at it, or even just like the outside packaging, everything about it makes me so happy. I wish, like, I would pay good money for Sephora to come out with not only this palette again, but just bring back their cream to powder form, their original cream to powder formula. I would pay good money for that because this is like luxury quality and I think it's so pretty. I wish I could repurchase this, but until it goes bad on me, I'm going to treasure it as much as possible. Okay, I'm gonna try to be faster for the next 9, but next on my list is the Kaleidos Sashimi City. I have to be very careful when I say that because it's kind of a tongue twister, but this is the Futurism 7. I believe this is also discontinued, but this is what it looks like. It's like their most basic palette ever, I think, but it's so beautiful. Like the two sparkly like shimmer shades that you get in here are both duochromes. They have like, this one has kind of like a pinky peachy shift and then this one has a gold shift, so they're kind of like opposites of each other, but they're incredibly sparkly as well. They're so beautiful, and the mattes are, I mean, they're not bad. They're not the best mattes in the world, but because of like the lack of contrast between the mattes in here, it just makes like blending them together so easy. And every single time I've ever worn this palette, every single time, I've gotten so many compliments, and this is like family, friends, random strangers, waitresses. This is my most complimented palette, like as far as when it's on my eyes. And even like if I wasn't getting compliments about this palette, I would still love it because I just feel so pretty. And there's something about like a beautiful, simple, but like sparkly, special neutral look that just makes me feel so pretty, because it's like, even without just putting a bunch of punchy, like super metallic chrome eyeshadows on my eyes, I can still feel like really pretty and love my makeup. There's something about a really pretty neutral look that just makes me feel really confident and just beautiful. So I love this palette so much, and of course it is my most complimented eyeshadow palette, so this had to be on the list. The next palette is pretty much just for the packaging. That's my ColourPop Avatar The Last Airbender eyeshadow palette. I love this so much. No matter what shades were in here, I was going to buy this because not only do I absolutely love this show, I watched it all the way through twice, once when I was a kid and then once like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. It was like a pandemic rewatch for me, and I loved it just as much. So I like love this show so much. I'm an earthbender. The art on here is so pretty. Like, this is just the outside sleeve, and then inside I feel like it's even more beautiful. It's just like amazingly beautiful. Like this entire palette, there's Appa. I love Appa. And then I think the imprints in the shades is very cool. Like, I used a few of them enough to like start wearing away the shades, which is kind of crazy because, not that I think ColourPop is bad, but this is definitely not my favorite formula, and especially not my favorite color story. I pretty much only use the air and earth rows or columns, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, I think the artwork in here is so beautiful, and even once the shades go bad, I'll probably just like pop them out and use this as a display piece because I think it's so beautiful. Another palette that may have been obvious to you, this was also in my 10 palettes I would keep video, is the Melt Mary Jane. I love this, and every time I look at it, I am just so happy. Not only because I think the color story is absolutely drool worthy, like these are my type of grungy tones. This is my favorite winter palette. Whenever I pick this up in the winter, I have to like force myself to stop using it so I can use other things. But also this was the first eyeshadow palette ever that I bought that I could use every shade of. Previously there were always shades that were like way too light for me, or just like wouldn't really work for my skin tone. I mean, this can happen to literally everyone. I'm not trying to like victimize myself, but like as a person of color with like medium to deep skin, that happens with most makeup, especially eyeshadow palettes, where you just have shades that are way too light, or just for one reason or another would not work on your skin tone. Maybe they're just not pigmented enough. And this was the first eyeshadow palette that I saw and knew I would be able to use every single shade of, and I was absolutely right. I love every shade in this palette, even the ones on the end, which are like kind of pressed glitters. They're more kind of like PC topper shades, but they almost behave as pressed glitters because you need like an eyeshadow glue. Anyway, even the ones on the end, like I love using them even though I have to use a glitter primer. I can still use them just fine on my eyes, and I just really appreciated Melt Cosmetics for making this palette because it was the first palette that made me feel like a mainstream brand like actually thought of people with my skin tone. Next is kind of like very specific to my interests, but that is the Terra Moon Space Chemistry palette. This came out at a time that I was very much into Terra Moon's eyeshadows. I still do love Terra Moon's, but I'm trying to purchase less and less kind of in general because I'm feeling very overwhelmed, especially with my single shadows. Although I do have my eye on one single shadow in particular that I might pick up during Black Friday. We'll see. However, when this palette came out, I think it was like a year before I actually purchased it. But if you didn't know, I was a chemistry major in college. I'm so into anything chemistry, even if it's not my like focus. I just love hearing people talk about it, and I love anything chemistry themed. And I also I originally was going to be an astrophysics major because I also love space. I just think anything regarding space and cosmology is so interesting. I did like a cosmology summer program my junior year, like the summer of my junior year of high school, and like I was going to be an astrophysics major. So this was like kind of just the perfect theme for me. I love Terra Moons as well. I did swap out one of the shades for this one instead. I know a lot of people had problems with the matte shades, and I will admit they are very powdery, but other than that, I didn't have any issues with them, especially after swapping one for a deeper shade. But just thinking of this palette and the theme, and then like opening it up and seeing these beautiful Terra Moon shades that are also like specific to this palette, it just makes me happy. I don't need to keep saying that. This is what the entire video is about. Another palette that was in my If I Could Only Keep 10 Eyeshadow Palettes video is my Pat McGrath Labs Interstellar Icon palette. And this is just a quad, but it is so beautiful, and this is my favorite blue eyeshadow in my entire collection. I mean, I'm not even that big of a fan of blue, so it's not like that's a monumental statement, but this blue was actually the reason that I started giving blue eyeshadow a chance. And it does have a flip. I'm not going to swatch these palettes because then we'd be here forever, but it does have, like, my lighting is just so bad at showing flips. It does have a purple flip to it, and it is so pretty. I mix, well, I start with like this shade as a base, and then I put this on top, and this is one of my favorite looks to do ever. Like, I feel so beautiful in it, and also I get a lot of compliments on it, but I just think it's like a really fun look to do. And then also we have these like amazing neutrals. I love Pat McGrath's formula and all of her eyeshadows. Then we have a Dose of Colors palette. Surprise, surprise. This one specifically is the Marvelous Mauves. Now, I do also love the She's a 10 palette, which is, it not only won my eyeshadow tournament, but it was of course featured in my If I Can Only Keep 10 Eyeshadow Palettes video. But one that just kind of like purely sparks joy is the Marvelous Mauves. I mean, not only now does it make me think of Alyssa, but also I just remember using this at a time in my life when like I feel like I could say this about like most of my life, but I remember like using this in a time in my life when I was just like, not much was working out for me, but I was like spending a lot of time with my friends and kind of just like using them as like a way for me to feel happiness and joy. This kind of just brings me back to that feeling of being with my friends, like getting ready with them, and like going to events with them and stuff. And I was using this eyeshadow palette a lot at the time. I also just love purple eyeshadow, and I love the Dose of Colors formula, but this does bring back specific memories for me, so I'm very grateful for this palette. Unfortunately, for some reason, I have no idea why, but for some reason this is, out of all of their 5-pan palettes that Dose of Colors has. This is the only one that is discontinued. I don't know why. It's really such a shame because this is an amazing palette and I totally would have repurchased it if I could. Maybe they'll bring it back for a vault sale one day, but for now mine is looking like it's doing perfectly fine, and I hope it stays that way because I want to get a lot more use on this before it goes bad. Also, I've been trying to fix like my collar this whole time, but it just looks kind of wonky. Just 3 palettes left, and the next one is my Lorac Pro palette in the Fairy Tale Forest color story. This palette is just so pretty. I bought this as, this was like definitely an impulse purchase. I just saw this online. I honestly don't know where I saw it. I think I might have been like scrolling Instagram and I saw an ad for this. I like clicked on the link and bought it because it was like during a Black Friday sale. So I think I got it for like maybe $20. But I love this, and the color story, even though I feel like there are some shades that maybe are a bit repetitive, there aren't any dupes in this palette, but there are some shades that are a bit repetitive, especially with the neutral shades in here. But I think this palette is so amazing and I love it. It's so pretty, especially this shade right here. It's like a pink gold duochrome, just like the shade from my Sashimi City palette. It's pretty much the exact same thing. I don't know if you can kind of see, yeah, you can see that shift on camera finally. And then this shade is like, it's just so interesting. Again, I'm not gonna swatch anything, but it's like, it has like 5 different undertones. It's like a gunmetal, it's almost green, it's almost gold, it's almost silver. It's like a bunch of different things in one shade, like depending on what you put it with. And there's like even one and dones in here. I have a go-to purple look, which also I was using this palette at the same time as I was using my Marvelous Mauves, also for the mauve look in here. I think I was just like on a purple kick at the time, but I have this specific purple look that I was doing with like these 2 mattes and then this purple metallic right here all the time in that like same period of my life. So this just brings back a lot of memories, and then I love the color story as well. The newest palette in my collection out of all 10 of these is my ABH Rose Metals. I bought this probably like a year ago now, but this is like still the newest, and that probably says a lot about what sparks joy for me, is pretty much like the memories, because even though I love my new palettes, none of them made the cut clearly. But yeah, back to my Rose Metals palette. I just love this one so much. This is probably, at the moment, it'd be a tie between this one and my Norvina palette, but I would say this would probably, just like at the moment, like in this exact moment right now, be my favorite ABH palette. I'll also link the video in the description box where I did a 2 looks 1 palette with this, because I do go in depth about how much I love this palette as well. But it's just not only such a beautiful fall palette, and fall is my favorite season just in general, but also for makeup. But the quality is so amazing, and I was pleasantly surprised by the quality, because I mostly got this for the color story, specifically the metallics, but then I realized how good this palette actually is, and it just makes me really happy. Then finally, a palette that I never expected to be on any sort of list, to be honest, but when I saw it, when I was like looking through my palettes, I was like, it has to make the cut, because like just how often I think of it. And that's actually Juvia's Place The Berries. This is a 6-pan berry toned eyeshadow palette. Absolutely nothing special about it. 3 mattes, or 4 mattes and 2 metallics. But this is like my birthday eyeshadow palette, which just means if you watch my like eyeshadow palette wardrobe tag, I said this was the palette that I would use on my birthday, because I don't know, for some reason every time I see this palette I think of like my birthday or like a birthday party. And not this past year, but I think like the 2 years prior, I used this either on my birthday or like sometime around my birthday. I have no idea why, but it just like gives me birthday vibes. And also this purple is just like a very, very good matte purple, and deep matte purples are seemingly very hard to formulate, because I only have a few in my collection that have ever worked well. And I say this all the time, even though I feel like every time I mention it, I am wearing pink eyeshadow, but I do not do pink or berry eyeshadow that often at all, despite me literally panning like a pink berry eyeshadow palette in my Project Level Up Light. But yeah, I almost never do pink eyeshadow, but I think it's because these shades are like so fun and poppy and bright and kind of just bold that when I use this, it is just like a fun experience and I'm just having fun with my makeup. And so it just like I've said 100 times in this video, it just makes me happy and is just a pleasant experience. So my birthday palette, the Berries palette, will be the final palette in the 10 palettes that spark joy for me. I mean, I do love pretty much every eyeshadow palette in my entire collection, or else I would just declutter them. But these are the 10 that like specifically just make me happy and giddy and excited to use and just have really fond memories attached to them. So that's it for this video. Let me know what is like at least the top, maybe if you don't have a full 10, at least the top eyeshadow palette in your collection that just sparks joy, whether or not it's like the best palette in your collection, something that just makes you happy to look at or use or has really good memories. So that being said, I'm gonna eat my lunch and I will see you in my next video. Until then, I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.